Hi, good evening. Can everyone hear me? If you can, just say hello, say yes on the chat, or you can use your voice to say it through your microphone as well. That was just a quick recap on mixtures, not much on compounds, but tells you a little bit more about what solutes and solutions are, which is what they will teach you when we look deeply into the topic of mixtures. Okay, so let's look at how questions are phrased in compounds and mixtures. Okay, so you can see the lady who tried to explain was really fast, right? You can find many videos of her, but she's really fast. So of course, if you go to 88 tuition, you'll see me talking, which is not that fast. You probably can understand a little bit more. She may not be suited to those who need people to speak a little bit slower. Okay, but if you have good knowledge already of the topic and you're trying to refresh yourself with some concepts and you want a 5-minute crash course, she's doing a crash course. So it'll be good to hear through a lot of these videos when you are preparing for exams because you're already supposed to know a lot of things. Okay, but that is if you really want to study and not practice. So there are two ways of revision, right? One is you study, which you involves taking a textbook and looking at notes. Okay, you're not doing any work, no questions, but the other is to do questions, right? So actually, there's not really much necessity to look through textbooks or go through notes unless you are unsure of something. So always do questions, and then when you're checking, you just go back and refer to your notes. Okay. So do not just sit down and study textbooks. It's not really recommended. Do more questions. If you finish one revision book, you can always start another one. Okay. Okay. Just to check if you can see my first question. If you can, please just type in yes, all of you. Uh, and then we'll do this exercise together. Can you also tell me if you have done these questions or not? They were loaded up to the 88 tuition portal, right? So if you've already tried them, also please say, I've already tried these questions, just for my knowledge. So I could go faster or slower depending on how many of you have tried it. Okay, otherwise we do have 5 multiple choice questions, which I'll be going through one by one. And each question is really unique. That's why we pick these questions for you to be able to answer them. Once you are able to answer them, then we know you are somewhere in the knowledge, okay, spectrum of 50 to 70% good. Okay, and then if you answer more questions, these are just 5. If you answer more, then you are going towards 100% spectrum. Then you go to the next topic. So revision is like this. Studying is not is a science itself. Okay, you must know what you're doing, how you're studying, what is the plan, and so on and so forth, especially in Sec 1 when you are having so many subjects. Cool? Okay, off to number 1. Which of the following is a mixture of elements only? Okay, so keyword here would be elements only. It cannot be elements and compounds. So we have, let's see, we have elements, we have compounds, and we have mixtures. You can see that though today's topic is about compounds and mixtures, we still are in this topic that is called elements, compounds, mixtures. It's just dividing them, and we still have to be able to identify elements, compounds, and mixtures. It's really necessary that you have this technique, okay, because students do get confused. A lot of students do get confused, especially if you go to the next few questions when you get diagrams of circles and you want to see which one is element, compound, mixture. You don't know, right? Okay, rest assured you will leave this lesson learning something. So stay tuned for the questions coming up. Okay, so let's look at this. And if you have no idea, have never done this topic, if you're in primary 6, you're probably not going to get this question correct at all. Okay, nobody knows what elements is. Then how? Elements is the definition of an element. We did this in the last 2 lessons. Okay, we need to know an element is the simplest form of matter, okay, that cannot be this shall give you 1 or 2 marks if you asked in section B. Cannot be broken down into more simpler substances by chemical methods. Okay, So it cannot be broken down or split and so on. So it might cannot, then we find such an element and we put it in the periodic table. Okay. So can air be split? Air is a mixture composed of, okay, oxygen, nitrogen, carbon dioxide, and other gases. Okay. What about brass? What about chalk? And what about water? Let's go for the simplest one. A is air, so it was simple. The next one, the next simplest one I would say is D, water. Is water an element? Can it be found on the periodic table? If you know your periodic table very well, this is the periodic table. Can water be found there? Obviously not, right? Because water's chemical formula is H2O. Yes, you can find H, you can find O, but you cannot find H2O. So water is not an element. If it's not an element, is it a mixture or a compound? Okay. A mixture can be separated easily, but a compound can be separated or not. Yes, but by chemical methods. So that the separation may take more work. Okay, so can be separated by chemical methods. So they can be separated. So therefore, it cannot be an element. Okay, so H can be taken apart, another H can be taken apart, and O can be taken apart. And since they are already combined, this is called a compound. So therefore, this is not the answer for this question. Okay, let's continue. Can we find chalk in the periodic table? No, right? Okay. So now my question is, so answer is B, right? Brass. Got it? Okay, we already know B. But as a science student, we must be more inquisitive, okay? We cannot just go to the next question without asking. So this is how I excel in my science, and I hope to impart this, okay, good traits from myself to you so that you can also become good, okay, in attempting science questions. So chalk, we still want to sit down here, especially if I'm at home. I mean, this is not an exam, right? If it's an exam, I quickly move forward. But if I'm at home and this is my question, I'll be like, what is chalk then? Is it, you still have to ask yourself whether it's a mixture, it's a compound, or element. We know it's not an element already, right? So what is chalk? Okay. So if I give you the answer, then you'll never ever find out, right? So after this lesson, Google it and just find out, and then you can always write it down in your notebook, and then we can discuss it next lesson. So I leave it open to you to actually find out whether chalk is a mixture or compound, okay, what is made up of, which elements they are made up of. Okay, like water, I know is made up of H2O and so on.